Welcome, Weirdos. It's Thursday again. I am still Sarah, and I am joined, as always, by...
I'm Mackenzie.
And I'm Chris.
And this podcast is for Weirdos.
What are we doing?
Believe it or not, it's part 2.
Holy
right.
shit.
Welcome back to First Ghosts Part 2.
Wow.
For you at home, it's been at least a week. For us, it's been about 20 minutes. You listening at home?
We had lunch.
We had lunch.
We had late lunch.
We had a late lunch. It's 5 p.m.
Linner? Dunch?
Dunch. So we left off at the end of chapter 7.
Yes.
And so we are now beginning with chapter 8.
Woohoo.
And this is an interesting section. So this chapter is called The Descents of Inanna and Ishtar and Other Netherworld Stories.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're talking specifically about literature in the Mesopotamian world.
Okay.
It's less about like actual day-to-day nitty-gritty how to deal with ghosts and more stories
Okay.
about ghosts and these texts that people would have been reading and told. Like, it's folklore. We're getting into folklore. As opposed to, because ghosts in Mesopotamia were not folklore; they were just real.
They're a part of life.
Well, I think it's like we're moving away from the custom of ghosts to the folklore of
Correct.
ghosts.
We're moving away from the custom to the story, basically. So these are stories of gods and goddesses and the netherworld they inhabit, and that netherworld seems far darker and foreboding than the one that the average Mesopotamian was sending their like dead dad to. Because what we've heard is like it's a place you go to, the food kind of sucks, but it's not like a bad place.
Like,
It's
people are
just where everyone goes.
Yeah. It's like not necessarily people are like, oh no.
And it's a neutral
Dad's
territory.
dead,
Like,
and
Right.
he's-
It's like, think of it like the Greek underworld, right?
Yeah.
The
That's
majority
just
of
where
people who
everybody
go to the
goes.
underworld, they're just going to the underworld. And the stories that are told to you about the afterlife, it's the place you go. It's
Yeah.
not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a
That's
fact
just
of
where you
life.
go.
However, most of the myths about the underworld are fucking scary.
Yeah.
And it's dark and not a place you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But in day-to-day life, that's not what they believed about the underworld.
Yeah.
Those were just some of the stories
They're
about
the
it.
stories about like the scarier sides and scarier parts of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have this section that I'm about to read is basically word for word in 3 different stories about the netherworld.
Okay.
So it's in different languages, in the 2 different languages that we've got, Sumerian and Akkadian, and it's in 3 different stories.
okay.
And they all start roughly like this. To the house of darkness, the seat of Urkala, to the house from where no one who enters can leave, to the journey from which there is no going back, to the house whose dwellers are deprived of light, where dust is their sustenance, clay their food. They see no light, dwelling in darkness. They are clad like birds with wings as garments. On door and bolt dust gathers. So that's like setting the scene of where we're going, right?
Clay for food.
Clay for food and dust for sustenance.
That's gross.
Yeah. Not a good... Yeah. Which is what they kind of say. Like, the food
Right,
in the
yeah, no.
underworld isn't good. That's
You know.
why you have to keep
That's
you
why you
offer
give
and
giving
bread,
bread
and
and
water.
beer and water and wine and such into your libation pipes.
Yeah.
So we have 2 different, very similar stories at the beginning of this chapter. We have Inanna's descent and Ishtar's descent. So we're going to start with Inanna's because it is the longer one. It's the more in-depth version. Inanna is the Sumerian goddess of love and sex, and this first story is the tale of her departing Earth and traversing down into the underworld.
Got it.
Interestingly, this is how we get the changing of the seasons in Sumerian tradition, similar to Persephone. Her descent and departure from Earth creates the cycle of the seasons, for she does end up coming back. So we have, this is like the beginning of her story. It beginneth.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It literally, it beginneth.
It beginneth.
Colon. From great heaven to great below, she has set her mind. From great heaven to great below, the goddess has set her mind. From great heaven to great below, Inanna has set her mind. My mistress has abandoned heaven, abandoned earth. She descends to the netherworld. Inanna has abandoned heaven, abandoned earth. She descends to the netherworld. So this is a really common thing in a lot of these, is it's like, she has done this. Who's she? The goddess has done this. Which one? Inanna has done this. So that, like, repeating something 3 times like that is really common in these stories, because it's a common feature, because one of the reasons these stories are written down is to learn how to write in cuneiform. And so if you repeat the same line over and over again and you just change one little thing, it's like, I know what this sentence says. Has done this, has done this, has done this. I now know how to write that in cuneiform. Like, a lot of these tablets were for that purpose, which is why we have a lot of record of this.
Yeah.
Story.
So it's a story built to teach, like, how to be a scribe.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah. It's not a story for that. It's written this way because it's being used for that purpose. The story exists because it's a story that exists within the mythology. So she puts on these very specific clothes to go into the underworld, to go into the netherworld. And she has 7 different specific garments on. She has a turban, a wig. I can't count. She has technically 8 because the last one is after she goes through the last gate. It matters. She has a turban, a wig, beads around her neck, 2 egg-shaped beads on her breast, a dress. She has the mascara can't be taken away. She has mascara on her eyes. She has a pectoral, like, jewelry thing.
Like a brooch.
It's like a big thing.
Like the big, like, almost Egyptian necklaces?
Yeah, it's called a pectoral is what this thing is called. And then she has a golden ring on her hand.
Okay.
So she has all of these very specific garments dressed to go into the netherworld. Once she goes to the netherworld, she has her sidekick goddess, Ninshubur, cause a commotion at all of her old temples. Because Inanna's gone now. She's in the netherworld. So she sends Ninshubur to her temples and like this. Make a lament for me in my ruined temples. Pound the drum for me in my sanctuary. Make the rounds of the gods' temples for me. Scratch at your eyes. Scratch at your nose. Scratch at your ears, the public place. Scratch at your anus, the private place. So, like,
all of your orifices.
Scratch at them. Scratch it.
Itchy, 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 itchy.
Itchy, 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 itchy. So that's what Ninshubur was supposed to do, was, like, cause this commotion at Inanna's temples, and then she was to go to the other gods' temples
and do the same
and talk about Inanna being gone, basically.
Okay.
And so,
like, oh my god, she's gone! Holy shit!
So then she goes to a bunch of different gods' temples. Most of them don't care, but she says this at those temples: Father Enlil, allow no one to subjugate your daughter in the netherworld. Do not let the precious metal be alloyed there with the dirt of the netherworld. Do not let your precious lapis lazuli be split there by the mason's stone. Do not let your boxwood be chopped up there with this carpenter's timber. Do not let the young lady Inanna be subjugated in the netherworld. So she's talking like she has all these specific things on it. It's like, don't let the precious metal that she's wearing get torn up in the underworld. She has this lapis lazuli necklace on. Don't let that get destroyed. The things that she has over her breast, those are wood. Don't let that get destroyed. Someone's going to destroy your daughter in the underworld. And Father Enlil's like, okay, why'd she go there?
I can only assume that all of the gods are like, she does this every year.
Yeah, well, it's like poor Ninshubur. She's just like, I'm just doing what I was told. I'm just doing what Inanna told me. Inanna told me to do.
Inanna just told me to come do this.
Told me to come do this, and so it's a whole thing.
Dad's like, she does this I don't care. She comes back every year.
They do this every year.
They do this every year. So Inanna gets down to the first gate of the netherworld, and she makes a fuss. She's yelling to the gatekeeper that she's there to attend the funeral of her sister's husband.
Lovely.
So her sister is the goddess of the underworld.
Okay.
Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal is annoyed and tells the gatekeeper to bar all 7 gates and to only let Inanna through should she remove one of the sacred articles that she wears.
Okay.
Like,
So
get fucked.
by the time she gets to the final gate, she has been stripped naked.
Uh-huh.
Finally, she was made to sit on the throne of her sister and be judged. Because this is like, you are not supposed to be here. This is not your domain. It isn't like this comes up later that Ereshkigal cannot leave the Netherworld and the other gods cannot come to the Netherworld. The Netherworld gods are in the Netherworld. The heaven gods are in heaven. They don't
cross.
It's a
So,
big
no,
fucking deal.
Only Inanna.
Only Inanna is doing this. Well, and another guy, because basically she and another guy trade places. But it's like, what are you doing? You can't come down here.
You're not supposed to be here.
So she gets stripped naked and she is judged. As
They
she
read
should.
her.
So we get this judgment. The Yanuki gods, the 7 judges, rendered their decision against her. They looked at her with the look of death. They spoke to her with the speech of anger. They shouted at her with the shout of guilt. The afflicted woman was turned into a corpse, and the corpse was hung on a hook.
Shit.
Yeah. So then, Ninshubur, back up on Earth,
Yeah.
went to all the temples and proclaimed what she was asked to proclaim.
Yeah.
Which was, she was supposed to proclaim that thing earlier, like, don't let your daughter suffer with this. Don't let her deal with this thing, you know.
Her nice thing. She's gonna die.
Yeah, most of the gods didn't fucking care. They,
Bless you.
excuse me. So
You're excused.
Father Enlil responded with this. He says, my daughter craved great heaven and great below also, and Nana craved great heaven and great below also. The mees of the netherworld are mees which are not to be coveted, for whoever gets them must remain in the netherworld. Whoever, having gained that place, could want to come back up again. So he's like, she made the choice to go down there. She's stuck down there, Ninshubur. Like, sorry, it's her fault.
Yeah.
So Father Enki, who's another god, there's a lot of gods that they specifically refer to as father. So it's not necessary that Inanna is actually any of their daughter. It's just like, she's your daughter. She's a younger goddess. How dare you let her suffer this way?
They're father figures. She is daughter figures.
So Father Enki, who is always referred to as Father Enki, Enki, took pity, and from the dirt under his fingernails, he created the Kugara, who he handed the plant of life, and the Galatura, who he handed the water of life. They were to go down and flit about the gates of the netherworld like flies and slip through to find the pregnant Ereshkigal. So Inanna's sister in the underworld is pregnant. And they are specifically told, just say to her, give us that corpse that is hanging on the hook. She will say, that is the corpse of your mistress. You say to her, whether it is that of our king or that of our mistress, give it to us anyway. Then they will give you that corpse that was hanging on the hook. At that, one of you sprinkle it with the plant of life and the other with the water of life, and thus Inanna will rise. So, huzzah. Getting out of the netherworld was not supposed to be done, and therefore would not be easy, even for a goddess. The judges are pissed that she has somehow managed to get out of being dead and get out of this situation.
And get off this fucking hook that they put her on.
Whoever has gone up out of the netherworld, who has ever gone up out of the netherworld alive, if Inanna wants to go out of the netherworld, let her provide a substitute for herself. So basically, she needs to have somebody
Trade with
her. Trade places. So she sought out Dumuzi, who in this story is just someone that she knows of. Okay. In the Ishtar story, it's a little bit different. So she goes up, and she's followed by these demons from the netherworld who are sent with her to make sure that she does this.
That she finds a replacement.
Yeah. The demons try to take Ninshubur as her replacement, and Inanna's like, no, she's the one who saved my life. You cannot take her. So they end up finding Dumuzi, who's a shepherd in the plains of Kulaba, and the demons seize him and take him down, and we get... The 7 of them poured the milk out of his churns. The 7 of them shook their heads. The shepherd played his flute and pipe no longer before her. So basically these demons have killed this man, Dumuzi. Inanna was roused to use identical wording to compensate for her own painful treatment. She looked at him with a look of death. She spoke to him with the speech of anger. She shouted at him with the shout of guilt. As for him, take him away. So that happens. And then you, 1/2 of the year, your sister, 1/2 of the year. On the day you designate, on that day you go up. On the day your sister designates, does she go up? And thus it was that Inanna the pure handed Dumuzi over as her substitute. Sweet is the praise of Inanna the pure. So she has, like, they are calling Dumuzi and Inanna brother and sister in this situation. They're like, on the day that you decide will be the days that you are up on the surface. On the day that she chooses, she goes up. And so because Inanna is the goddess of fertility, basically it's whenever creatures are mating and making babies is when Inanna is on the surface. And when like animals are no longer doing the sex is when she's in the netherworld. And so it's basically like when the animals are barren and like not reproducing is when she's in the netherworld.
Okay.
Is the way that they discuss that.
So then we're talking like spring and summer.
She's up and a fall and winter she's down. So that's the Inanna story.
Yeah.
So it's basically she decides for some reason she's going to go down to the netherworld. We don't actually know if she's there for Eresh Kigal's husband's funeral.
Okay.
We don't know if that's why she's there. She just decides she's going to do this.
Yeah.
And then everyone's mad at her because she's not supposed to be there, and that she has to find a replacement. And that's how we get the seasons. So now we have Ishtar's descent. So we all know about Ishtar from Hellier, right? She is the like Babylonian version of Venus.
Yeah.
She is, again, goddess of love, goddess of sex, goddess of all of those things. This is the Akkadian version of the story, and is often way shorter than the Inanna story. The Inanna story has a lot of detail and a lot of that repetition and that kind of stuff. So we get Ishtar's story. We get this introduction that's really similar to that thing that I already read, right?
Yeah.
The like that kind of thing. The only difference at the beginning is to the underworld, land of no return, Ishtar, daughter of Sin, which is the not Sin like immortal Sin. Sin is in the moon. Sin is the name of their moon god. Daughter of Sin did set her mind. Did the daughter of Sin indeed set her mind? And then we have to the house of darkness, the seat of Rakala, that thing that I already read.
Yeah.
The crucial point is what happens next, of course. When she reached the gate of the underworld, she addressed the gatekeeper. She is like really specific in this. She is like, gatekeeper, she said, open your gate for me. Indeed, open your gate for me so I can come in. If you don't open the gate, I will be unable to come in. I will break down the door. I will smash the lock. I will break down the door frames and knock over the door panes. I will smash the hinges and rip off the knob. I will make the dead rise up so they consume the living. The dead will outnumber the living. She's like, let me the fuck in.
Let me in.
I want in.
There's going to be zombies.
So the difference between Ishtar and Inanna in this situation is Inanna was just like, let me in.
Let me in.
I'm here for my sister's husband's funeral. And Eresh Kigal's like, no, she's fucking not. Don't let her in.
Yeah.
And in this one, she's like, I will fucking break down the door.
Let me in.
Let me in. Let me in. You know, like that meme. So then Eresh Kigal is like, well, I guess I have to kill her.
Yeah, cute.
Right? So she decides right then and there to kill her. It's not like this, oh, we're going to strip her of all of her garments. We're going to bear her before the judges, and then the judges will decide. Eresh Kigal's like, no, I'm just going to fucking kill her. Basically.
She's going to cause all this ruckus. We're done.
Right. So
That's
she
enough.
then has to, you know, get one up on Ishtar at this point.
Yeah.
So she says, go, gatekeeper, open the gate for her. Treat her according to the age-old rules. The gatekeeper went and opened the gate for her. Come in, my lady. That Kutha can rejoice over you. That's the, like, gate to the underworld. That the palace of the underworld can delight over you. He led her through the first gate and loosened and took off the great tiara on her head. Why, gatekeeper, did you take off the great tiara on my head? Come in, my lady. Thus are the rules of the mistress of the netherworld. So Ishtar's like, I don't know what these rules are. I don't know what you're talking about. But okay, I guess if those are the rules, I'm going to do it because I want in.
Fine, I guess.
So in this story, after Ishtar has been stripped of all of her garments and ushered into the presence of her sister, Ereshkigal instructs her vizier Namtar to send 60 diseases against Ishtar to kill her. This causes all reproduction on Earth to stop because the goddess of sex and reproduction and love and everything
And
is
fertility.
dead. No more birth, no more new life in the world above.
Damn.
Yeah.
Everything's dying.
Big bad time. The god Ea was petitioned to help this time, so he's like similar to Enki.
Yep.
And he created a Zikru called Ashusu Namir to seduce Ereshkigal into giving him whatever he requested. So he's not an incubus, but he kind of is.
Okay.
Like he is, he has the ability to seduce this goddess into giving him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And he is created by another god. So he asked for the water of life to revive Ishtar, and Ereshkigal has to comply with him because
He's just so sexy.
Because he's like, well, will you do whatever I ask? And she's like, yeah. And so he goes, I want the water of life. And she's like, fuck.
Shit.
God damn it. So
Yeah, I guess.
Ishtar is then sprinkled with the water of life and allowed to proceed through the gates and has her articles returned to her one by one. Dumuzi, once again, is required to be her substitute, but in this story, he is her lover.
Oh.
So it's a little bit different. Yeah, kind of a bummer, which means they can never be together.
Yeah.
So it's a double punishment.
Yeah.
So it says, at length Ishtar is able to proceed back through gates 7 through 1. Her articles of apparel return to her one by one each time. Dumuzi, the lover of her youth, is to pay the penalty and be her substitute. And she says, you shall not rob me of my only brother. On the day when Dumuzi comes back up, the lapis lazuli pipe and carnelian ring coming with him, and male and female mourners come up with him, so shall the dead come up and smell the smoke offering. So she's basically like, because you're taking this away from me, whenever he comes back up, so will the dead. Like, ghosts are going to come back up with him. Because she's mad that they're taking her lover. They're like, she's like, literally anybody. We could have picked anybody, and why did you pick him?
Yeah. You could have picked anybody but my boyfriend. Fuck you.
Right. So from this story, because they said Kutha and like this specific thing when talking about where she was, we learned that the Babylonian entrance to the underworld specifically is in the city of Kutha.
Okay.
Which is located in modern south-central Iraq.
Okay.
It has not been investigated archaeologically at all, so we don't know what the temples would look like for this like
Fascinating.
netherworld entrance. There has not been a lot of archaeology done in this area, specifically of Kutha. So then we have the story of Nergal and Ereshkigal. So this last story in this chapter is the story of how Ereshkigal acquires her husband.
Scared me.
This is how she gets her husband. So she, the goddess of the underworld, Ereshkigal,
Okay. Yeah.
how she acquires her husband Nergal. This story is only told in Akkadian. We have no older Sumerian text to compare it to.
Okay.
So we only have the Babylonian version. These tablets were definitely used to teach people how to write.
Hell yeah.
It would be a story familiar to them and recognizable words. It would be easy to copy down. Based on the amount of partially finished transcriptions of this story that has been found, this seems to be the case. So,
I truly love that.
yeah, it's like, okay, everybody write down the Bible story.
Yeah. Everybody write down your Bible verses.
So this is kind of the setup for the story.
Okay.
When the gods organized a banquet, they sent a messenger to their sister, Ereshkigal. We cannot go down to you, and you cannot come up to us. So send someone to collect your share of the food. They're like, we want to invite you to this banquet. We can't, because you can't come up here,
you
and we
can't
can't
come
come
up
down
here.
there. So send somebody who can come up here to get your food.
Like we still want to.
We still want to participate. We still want you to come, but
Yeah.
you can't. So
We still want to give you some of
and we
this
still want you to get to eat
fucking
it.
great food.
Right, we want you to get to eat. So, like, send somebody to come get it. Ereshkigal sent Namtar, her vizier. Namtar went up to the high heavens. When Namtar entered, the gods stood up and pronounced a blessing on Namtar, their older sister's messenger. So they're all like, great, Namtar's here. Cool.
Sick.
Take this food down to Ereshkigal, blessings upon your house, kind of thing. Nergal refused to recognize Namtar, sent in place of Ereshkigal. Namtar presents the queen of the netherworld with her food portion. Namtar, like, goes back down, has the food, and is like, hey, by the way, Nurgle basically said, fuck you.
Yeah.
And didn't give me a blessing like all the other gods did. And Ereshkigal tells him, Namtar, to go back and bring Nurgle for execution. Go get him, I'm killing him.
Yep.
He was mean to
How
you. He was mean to you,
dare.
which means he was mean to me. Go get him, I'm killing him.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Nurgle, who realizes he done fucked up,
Good.
has disguised himself in heaven so that way he can't be found.
Lovely.
Terrified she's going to kill him.
Yep.
As he should be.
Yeah. Ea,
Well,
however...
maybe he shouldn't have been a dick.
Right. Ea, one of the other gods, again, the one who brought Ishtar back in the previous story, gives Nurgle a throne to give to Ereshkigal. So Nurgle is still disguised.
Yeah.
He descends with 2 sets of 7, so 14, of his disease demons to guard him because he's fucking terrified. He's like, she's gonna fucking kill me when she figures
So
out
is
this.
he like the god of disease?
I don't know what he's the god of.
Okay.
No idea. He becomes the god of the underworld with Ereshkigal.
Cool.
I don't know what he was the god of before he became the king
Before
of the
that.
underworld.
Got
Yeah. So he is in disguise.
Yep.
He goes down. He's like,
Please don't kill me, my lady.
yeah. So he says, Gatekeeper, Gatekeeper, open your gate, loosen the bolt so I can come in. I have been dispatched to your mistress, Ereshkigal. So he's like, I'm not saying who I am. I'm not saying why I'm here. I'm just saying that I'm here to see your goddess. Namtar, who honestly Ereshkigal should have married instead of Nurgle,
Yeah.
recognizes him
Oh.
immediately. He's like,
Good.
This bitch.
hey, that's the guy I was supposed to go get to bring down so that way my mistress can kill him.
That guy that was mean to me.
Yeah. So he takes him to Ereshkigal immediately.
Yeah.
And the demons who he brought with him
Yeah.
are stranded at the last gate
Ah.
because they were not welcomed through the gate by the gatekeeper, so they're stuck. Nurgle, when he gets to Ereshkigal, grabs her hair to attempt to kill her, but she goes, what if you became my king instead? They get married. Grabs her head to like cut her, like pull her close to him so he can like rip her head off or cut her head off. And she goes, wait. What if we get married? You can be a king. And he's like,
What
okay.
if you kiss me?
He's like, okay. They do.
Is this a good marriage?
They make love for 7 consecutive days and nights.
Wow.
Get jiggy
So, like,
with
They're having a
it.
good time.
Yeah, they're having a great time, I guess.
So in a couple of versions of the
Shit.
story,
Sorry.
he agrees to marry her, but then he like leaves.
Like fucks off.
Yeah, he just leaves. He goes back to heaven. He's like, he does it because he's like, she wants to kill me. I'll agree to do it, but then I'm gonna leave because she can't leave the netherworld. Remember.
Yeah.
Um.
Who's her husband now?
So, but they're not married yet.
Oh.
He agrees to marry her, and then leaves.
And then he disappears.
He agrees to marry her so that way she won't kill him.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
goes, yeah, I'll marry you.
I'll marry you. Bye.
Pardon me, one moment left at the gate. I'll be right back.
So
Deuces.
then Namtar, again,
Yeah.
our
Poor
boy,
guy.
Does he
our
have to go
good-
get him again?
has to go plead her case to all of the gods. And this is said. Ever since I was a child and a daughter, I did not know the play of maidens. I did not know the romping of girls. That God whom you sent to us had intercourse with me. Let him live with me again. Oh, yeah, they are also in this version of the story. They did
They
fuck for 7 days and nights.
And
And
then
then
he
he
just
leaves.
And then he leaves.
And then he leaves.
Poor girl.
Before he marries
Before
her.
he marries her. They
Gets
have
what
a
he
lot of
wants.
sex and then he leaves.
Men ain't shit.
Send
It
that
ain't shit.
Yeah. Send that God to us that he may be my lover and spend the nights with me. I am unclean. I am impure. I cannot render judgments of the great gods who dwell in Urkala. If you do not send that God according to the ordinances of Urkala and the great underworld, I shall raise up the dead and they will consume the living. I shall make the dead more numerous than the living. So she's like,
Lord.
okay, first of all, by literally the laws of our goddamn everything, he has to marry me. We had sex a lot.
A lot.
So he has to marry me because he has made me impure by doing that.
Yep.
And he's like, you're right.
Yeah.
And he returns and they get married.
Brother, you could have just stayed put.
But the crazy fucking thing is she's like, but also like, if you don't,
I like him.
if you don't,
If you don't.
I'm going to make all of the dead come out of the netherworld and go up. and there's more of them than there are of you.
Exactly. Which also like incredible because I don't know. At some point, somebody had to tell me that there are more dead people
Than there are living.
than there are living
Yeah,
people.
there have been more dead people than there are living people currently, which at this point is probably also still true.
Yeah, that's also still true.
At this point in history, there are more dead than there are living.
Which is still also crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. So, but she's like, the dead will outnumber the living. Give me my husband.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay.
Nobody wants this.
And then after that, they like have a good marriage.
Oh, that's good.
Like they start a little like enemies to lovers,
little
but then they're
rocky,
fine. So that's the end of chapter 8.
Good for Nurgle.
Yeah, good for Nurgle, honestly. And good for Ereshkigal for being like, excuse you. No, you said you were going to marry me.
And then they had a lot of sex.
And because you said you were going to marry me, I was like, okay, we're getting married. That means that we can do this and that's okay. We're betrothed. That's fine.
We're betrothed.
And then you fucking left. So you caused
asshole.
this problem. You made me be impure. You have to come back. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I fucked up.
Yep.
And he goes back. So that's chapter 8.
Hell yeah.
Chapter 9. Gilgamesh
Yep.
and Kidu and the Netherworld.
Gargamel.
Not Gargamel. I did text
Gorgonzola.
Chris. No. I did text Chris and Mackenzie both about. Do you know the Epic of Gilgamesh? Either of you know what that is?
No.
That fucking blows my mind.
I might and just not realize that
I think
do.
I do, but I could not
you
tell
probably
you.
don't know the like thing. Just the words, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
I know the
I know
words.
the words.
Okay, you know of that. You know that
Yes.
that is a thing. Okay.
I was like, I know these words.
Right.
I'm not sure. Like, I could not tell you what the story
That's
is now.
fine. I don't need
but-
you to. So this specific story of Gilgamesh and Kidu in the Netherworld is a Sumerian tale of Gilgamesh, who is a like think of Gilgamesh kind of like Hercules. He's this
Yeah.
like heroic
Yeah.
figure in Assyria. He's like King Arthur. He's like Robin Hood. It's like, dude, did he actually live? We don't know, but we have a bunch
John
of stories
Henry.
about him. Yeah, he's a folk hero.
Yeah.
And
Love a folk hero.
earlier on in the book, I kind of didn't include this part when it came up because it made more sense to bring it up now.
Yeah.
There is a story that is told about his like installation in the Netherworld after he dies. And
Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh. Remember how I talked about the king of Ur and how he gets seated on a pedestal as a judge
Yes.
Yeah.
when he died?
Yes.
The same thing happened to Gilgamesh when he died. So he's this like king of kings, lord of lords. Just kidding, that's Jesus.
Yeah, I was like,
I know.
Wrong guy.
I know, but like he literally is this like epic king
Yeah.
that like gets put on a pedestal in the Netherworld when he dies.
Sick.
King Arthur, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, this specific story was Sumerian and was later translated into Akkadian and kind of stuck at the end of the Epic of Gilgamesh. So, like the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Is this like the Syrian, Akkadian, Odyssey, Iliad kind of story?
Kind of. So it is that. It's like it's like 5 epic poems. The Akkadian story is what we call the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Okay.
The Sumerian version is a bunch of individual stories. The Akkadian version, they shove it all together into one book.
In one.
So it's kind of like how in the Iliad there are the like catalogs of ships
Yeah.
that happen. It's like, what the fuck is this? There are bits of that in the Akkadian version of the Epic of Gilgamesh where you're like, where did this come from? So this
is kind
specific
of out of left
story
field.
is like tacked onto the end of the epic in the Akkadian version. So between 2000 and 1600 BCE, this text was read by Sumerian-speaking schoolboys across their world, copied out in extracts to practice writing, and the grammar was analyzed. This is literally their Iliad. They have to read it. They have to write it.
It's like a
they have to
star
analyze the grammar.
test.
It's Shakespeare. It's the shit they have to read in school.
That they all fucking hate.
Right. So this
That's so funny.
This specific story is about 350 lines long and had a fast-moving story and a star-studded cast to keep their attention. Like, it's literally like, look,
Oh,
you
it's
get to read about Hercules, okay? But you also have to transcribe it.
Yeah. You also have to write it down.
You also have to write it down, and we're going to talk about grammar. And they're like, but at least it's Hercules, essentially.
I mean, I guess that kind of feels like, what is it, like Schoolhouse Rock? It's like, you get to watch a cartoon.
Right.
But
You
it's,
watch
It is.
it's about,
But it's about how bills become laws.
Right.
and you're gonna have the song stuck in your head for the rest of
The
your life.
rest
Just
of your-
a bill. Anyway. Yes, it's literally that. It's like, you get to watch cartoons, but we're going to teach you about vowels.
Yeah.
And
And
adverbs.
and conjunction junction.
And conjunction junction.
Fuck.
And the fucking the Constitution,
Yep.
the preamble.
Yep.
Anyway, so now we have part 1. The Sumerian narrative begins as such. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In those days, in those distant days, in those nights, in those far-off nights, in those years, in those distant years, in the primeval days when, and then it continues thusly. So it's very much like, at the beginning of time, this story happens.
Yeah.
It's very once upon a time.
It's very Genesis 1:1.
Right. And then we have...
Yeah.
It literally says, like, in those primeval days when ... Like, so that's the ending of the tablet. And then Mr. Finkel says, important things happened. Heaven and earth were separated. Mankind appeared. And On chief god took heaven. Enlil, god number 2, took earth. And, quote, as for the netherworld, it was given to Ereshkigal as a dowry. So it's like, this is how we get the god of heaven, the god of earth, and the goddess of the underworld. Great.
Sure.
So that's just how it kind of opens. This
Yeah.
story opens as like in the beginning of time.
Yeah, this is a creation.
There was
story.
nothing. That part is. Then it's not.
Okay.
The
then
very
it's
beginning
Gilgamesh,
is like
then
this.
it's folk
Then
hero.
then it's like and then. So yeah,
Okay.
it's literally like, oh, shit was going on, and then Gilgamesh is on the scene. So
And our hero steps onto the stage.
yeah, here comes Gilgamesh. So Gilgamesh had these 2 items for a game that he played with all of the other like guys in his town.
Sure.
The words for these 2 things are an elag, which is a like stick, and an akema, which is a puck. So it's
Hockey!
not it's not hockey. He did say very aggressively, it's not hockey, it's not baseball. Like the way that it's described is really weird. It's
Is
just
it rugby?
no, it's a very
rugby.
it's similar to
What's cricket?
It's very violent.
Ooh. Are we sure it's not hockey?
Yeah. I was like, this sounds like hockey. But so the way that this game worked was it was a very long game, which is why I don't think it's hockey, because hockey is not very long.
No.
It's a fast game.
It's a very fast game.
So he had been playing this
is
game.
cricket.
He'd been playing this game for a day with
Yeah.
all of his friends in town.
Sounds like cricket.
And they all had the shit beat out of them because that's what happens when you play this game.
Sick.
And when the sun goes down, the game pauses.
Oh.
So you take the stick and you take the puck, but you mark where the puck was.
Yeah.
And then you go to bed. So he gets up the next morning and it's time for play to resume, and he was not met on the field by the players, but by the crying faces of mothers, sisters, and wives on behalf of their battered sons, brothers, or husbands.
Oh.
They're like,
Please
they're
don't
like,
make them
please,
play.
please don't make them play again. They hurt so bad. You have fucked up my son. You have fucked up my husband. So then we get this little excerpt of story.
Okay.
His puck and stick fell down to the bottom of the netherworld.
Oh.
He stretched out his hand, but he couldn't reach it. At the Ganzir gate in front of the netherworld, he sat down. Gilgamesh wept.
My arms are too short.
He was sobbing.
My stick and my puck.
Oh, my Akema puck. Oh, my Eleg stick. Oh, puck whose pleasure I had not fully enjoyed. Oh, game in which I had not lost interest. If only right now my Akema puck were still there for me in the carpenter's house. He was adopted by a carpenter. Interestingly
Interesting.
enough.
Huh.
If only right now my Eleg stick were still there for me in the carpenter's house. If only they were there for me with the carpenter's wife who is like mother who bore me. Because she's not his actual mom, but
Right.
she adopted him. We're almost...
so sad.
He's so sad. If only they were there for me with Carpenter's daughter, who is like my little sister. My Akema puck has fallen down into the netherworld. Who will bring it up for me? My Eleg stick has fallen down to Ganzir. Who will bring it up for me?
Ooh, ah.
And our boy Enkidu, his best friend and servant, goes, I'll do it.
I'll go get it.
I'll go get him. Enkidu immediately is like, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll go get it. Anyway, so Enkidu immediately offers to go to the netherworld and retrieve these gaming tools, which are literally
A stick.
never mentioned in the story again.
Shit.
So clearly this was just a plot device to get Enkidu to go to the netherworld at the behest of Gilgamesh. He's like, oh no, our table, it's broken. Only the glue from the netherworld can fix it, Enkidu. I wonder what we're going to do. And Enkidu's like, I'll go get it.
I can go to the netherworld.
I can go to the netherworld and get it for you. And he's like, yes, good.
That's what I want.
My plan, it's working.
Yeah. He literally is like, my master, you weep so much. Why are you so heartsick? Today we'll bring up your Akema from the netherworld. I will bring up your Eleg from Ganzir. Like, he's like, I'll go. Why are you so sad?
Please stop crying.
Please stop crying. So then Gilgamesh is like, hey, there's a bunch of shit you should not do when you go to the netherworld.
Don't do that.
Like, don't do this. And so
Goodbye.
here's the like list. Do not dress in your cleanest garment. They will know that you are a stranger. Do not anoint yourself with sweet oil from a flask, lest they gather around you because of the aroma. Do not hurl a throw stick in the netherworld, lest those struck by a throw stick will gather around you. Or take a Manu staff in your hand, lest the Udug demons will tremble on your account. Do not wear sandals on your feet. Do not shout in the netherworld. Do not kiss the wife you loved. Do not beat the wife you hated. Do not kiss the son you love. Do not beat the son you hated. Otherwise, the complaints will hold you in the netherworld. So he's like, you have to act like you are a ghost while you are there. Don't do human shit. They'll know that you are a human. You have to act like a ghost. So, Enkidu, an idiot, flouted all of these rules one by one, causing quite a ruckus.
Of course he did.
He kissed his wife. He beat his wife.
He beat his son. He wore shoes. Like he did
Wore his nice clothes.
He did everything wrong. Namtar. So then, like, because all of this happened, he couldn't just come back because he's being like held captive, right? It's like, if you do this, they're gonna surround you because you smell good. If you do this, they're gonna surround you because you look different.
Yeah.
If you do this, they're gonna hold you in complaint because you did these things,
Yeah.
right? So then we get Namtar did not hold him, Asag did not hold him, the netherworld held him there. The divine Udug demon, Nurgle the merciless, did not hold him, the netherworld held him. He did not fall in battle on the field of manhood, the netherworld held him. It's like, you fucked up so bad that the physical place is keeping you there.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh,
Yep.
obviously aware he had sent an idiot into the netherworld, started to get nervous in the land above and went to entreat the help of Enlil at his temple. He insisted that Enkidu should not be held in the netherworld because he hadn't died, but rather entered as a living man of his own free will. Enlil, as we know from the Inanna story,
like-
doesn't fucking care.
Like, shouldn't have done that,
He
dummy.
fully doesn't respond.
And
Gilgamesh then goes and reaches out to Sin, the god of the moon, at the city of Ur, weeping for his friend. Still no response. So the moon is like, I don't fucking care.
My boyfriend.
Father Enki,
my
our
cute
boy.
little twin.
So softy.
however, did respond with a proposal for the sun god Utu, who knows all the ins and outs of the netherworld since he passes through it every night.
This is
A la
such-
Ra.
So the sun god Utu, the way that in Assyrian, in this case, this is the Sumerian. So in the Sumerian belief, the sun god at the end of the day passes into the west and then goes through the netherworld,
Yeah.
and then in the morning comes out of the netherworld in the east and
Yeah.
goes around the world again.
A la Ra.
A la Ra. As we did say.
Yeah.
But because he's also the judge in this, like, that's why he has to go into the netherworld, is because he like is keeping an eye on the dead.
Yeah. He's being a judge while he's down there.
Right.
And then he exits. in the
So
morning.
Enki is like, hey, why don't we reach out to Utu, the sun god, see what he has to say? And Enki says the following.
Okay.
He says, Utu, open a chink in the netherworld and then send his servant up to him from the netherworld. He, Utu, opened a chink in the netherworld. By means of his gust of wind, he sent Gilgamesh's servant up to him from the netherworld.
Wow.
So
Simple
he's
enough.
like, hey, you know where all of the like breaks in security are.
Yeah.
Just like, just bring him up. He didn't die.
Just toss him out.
He's just a guy. Just free him.
He's
this
just
guy,
kind of stupid.
Gilgamesh is real fucking sad. Like,
Everybody, please
every-
just let him stop crying.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
just wants him to stop crying.
everyone just wants Gilgamesh to stop crying.
He's so sad.
So Enkidu is back. Gilgamesh and Enkidu hug it out. It literally says, The two fell on each other's necks. They embraced each other and they kissed. They exhausted one another with questions.
And maybe something else.
And maybe something else. It is really interesting because the first question that Gilgamesh asks Enkidu about in the Netherworld is he asks what sex is like down there. First question. And Enkidu's like, bad. It's real bad. But literally, he's like, because the other thing is like, these people think that the Netherworld is exactly like life on Earth.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's like, okay.
Is it good?
Is everything still good? And Enkidu's like, no. It's bad. So then he asked, Gilgamesh asks a bunch of questions in general about people in the Netherworld, right? So we kind of get this overarching story of like what your life will be like in the Netherworld.
Yeah.
Asking of what a life will be like in the Netherworld for a man with 1 son, a man with 2 sons, a man with 7 sons, like all the way up to 7. The man with 7 sons sits on a throne among the junior gods. So this is continuing to further the previous idea that having a large family to carry on your family name is what matters the most in this civilization. Like the other ones are like, I mean, they're like fine, but if you have 7 sons,
that's a lot
you're
of sons.
made in the underworld.
Yeah, like you're comfy.
So then
Living
they talk
big.
at length about different types of individuals in the Netherworld before Gilgamesh gets to the meat of what he actually wanted. And we get
Distic and Puck.
no.
Damn.
Those don't come back ever.
Yeah. I can still hope.
Content warning. Loss of a child.
Ah.
Did you see my small stillborn who never knew their own name? And Enkidu said, they take pleasure in syrup and ghee at the tables of gold and silver. So Gilgamesh is like, we haven't had my baby.
Oh.
And then we get so again, Gilgamesh is an orphan.
Yeah.
He was raised by these carpenters. We also later in Gilgamesh's story, he somehow is a demigod, but at this point that kind of lore hasn't been established. He's just this hero.
Yeah.
So he says, did you see the place where my father and mother sit? And Enkidu said, I saw it. And Gilgamesh said, how do they fare? And Enkidu said, they both drink water from the place of a massacre, filthy water. It becomes obvious that the whole reason Enkidu that Gilgamesh sent him to the Netherworld is to inquire about his own lost family, because he's worried about how their lives are faring in this afterlife. His stillborn child and his parents. He has not had the opportunity to properly mourn these people, and so he sent his friend to check up on them. He actually holds a funeral for his parents then and there because they're not cared for, and so they don't have a good afterlife.
Yeah.
He sent them back to Uruk. He sent them back to their city. Gear and tools, hatchet and spear he stashed in the store, celebrating joyfully in his palace. He doesn't actually have a palace at this point, we don't think, but he has like he's got a nice house.
He's got a nice house.
The young men and women of Uruk, the old men and women of Kula, looked upon those statues and rejoiced. As Utu came out of his bedchamber, Gilgamesh raised his head in pride, instructing them, Father mine and mother mine, do you drink clear water? The day was not half over. Some missing chunk of text. And then Gilgamesh performed mourning rites. For 9 days he performed mourning rites. The young men and women of Uruk, the old men and women of Kulaba wept. Just as he had said, he drove the Gursu citizens to the edge. Father mine and mother mine, do you drink clear water? So he gets this opportunity after sending his friend into the underworld to properly have a funeral for his parents. Because the problem is they died when he was young, and he's their only kid. So there's nobody to offer things for them. Yeah. And he didn't know their names. He didn't know who they were. But he gets this the Utu, the sun god, is like, you can just say father mine and mother mine and that counts, kind of thing. Yeah. So like he has the opportunity to right that wrong and be able to mourn them and be able to get them a place in the netherworld that is fitting of being the parents of this hero. Yeah. So that's like the main chunk of that story. Do we want to process that for a second? It's fucking sad.
It's really sad.
Like, it starts and you're like, oh, he like sends his friend down and he asks him, and it's like, he asks him all these silly questions and he asks him a bunch of generic questions, and then he's like, did you see my kid? Did you see my parents? And Enkidu's like, I did. And your kid's your kid is wonderfully taken care of.
Your kid is
and has honey. He has honey and he eats off of a table of gold. Like he's he did no wrong, has had no wrong done to him. You clearly still offer things to this dead child, right? But it's
Yeah.
like your parents are not in a good place, and he's like, I'm having a funeral right now.
Right now.
I'm going home
now.
and having a funeral, and that helps them. And so it's that kind of thing of like even heroes need to mourn
Yeah.
their lost loved ones.
Yeah.
And again, this is the story that like kids are copying down. Reminder.
Yeah. Reminder. They
They are having children read this story, which has a very, very graphic description of what sex is like in the underworld.
well.
Well,
It's ancient
It is
Assyria.
What it is.
It's fine.
the culture was much different.
Right. So then we have the Akkadian translation. The only thing that differs is the wording about the way that Enkidu gets back. So we get Shamash, perhaps you can open a chink at the netherworld. You can bring the shade of Enkidu up to him from the netherworld like a phantom.
So just the shadow.
So
The spirit, the ghost.
the words that are used are describing not quite his ghost, because it's a different word. It's not etemu, it is utuku. So close, but not the right word for like his ghost. It's specifically this like shade. So, and then this airlift is able to bring him up. We have this sentence. It is important for the ghost hunter to acknowledge that Enkidu in the netherworld was not dead, because when he regained the world above, he and Gilgamesh embraced and wept at each other's neck. He's physical when he returns to Earth. So he's not a ghost, but he's something else in the netherworld. So we have this about, it's called Enkidu's nature. The implications of the airlift tell us a good deal about Enkidu as a person. On entering the netherworld, he was somehow freed from his bodily form, just as a dead arrival would be freed of his corpse. Enkidu was an utuku, ethereal and phantom-like, not an etemu ghost, like everyone else in the underworld. For Enkidu, appearing as an utuku was evidently both temporary and reversible, right? He can go to the underworld as a utuku, and he can come back and be a guy.
Yeah.
Enkidu was unrecognizable as an intruder by the surrounding Etemu ghosts and would therefore readily pass as an Etemu himself. So the only reason he gets caught is because he does all the shit he's not supposed to do.
Right, like he
not
gets-
because he's obviously not a ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
It is only clear-cut mortals who have an Etemu ghost, right? We have this thing of like, man was created as this combination of God and clay, God and intelligence. That's how we get the Etemu. That's how we get people. The Akkadian words Utuku and Etemu are written in Sumerian with two large and complex cuneiform signs that can be easy to confuse. So in the older language, these words are really, really close together.
It's like when we were talking about
It's like
death
ghost spirit.
customs. Well, ghost spirit, but like in death custom and like Mandarin, it's the number 4 and death. Like
Right.
they're very, very
Right.
You sneeze wrong and you
Right.
said the wrong word.
And it's also like literally for us, spirit, ghost.
right.
Those are effectively the same thing. But in this,
Different context.
different context. The Sumerian sign, Etemu is made up of 1/3 female divinity, and the Utuku is 2/3 female divinity. So like the symbol has basically like 1/3 this, and then Utuku is 2/3 this. In this case, where Enkidu's netherworld identity is so significant, the Akkadian editor spelled the telling word Utuku syllable by syllable just to make sure we notice. So there's a couple of different ways you can write in. Yes, there's a couple of different ways you can write in cuneiform. You can write it as like this is the word, or you can write it as like these are the sounds that make up the word, and so you can see like this means this, this means this, this means this. Together it means this. So this word was written out as u-tuk-ku. This suggests compellingly that either one or the other of Enkidu's parents was divine, which we also have about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh also, later, is 1/2 divine. Obviously, in this version of the story, he is not, because both of his parents are in the netherworld.
Yeah.
So one of them can't be divine. So this is like this interesting thing of most humans are 1/3 divine, our soul, 2/3 mortal. Utukus are 2/3 divine, 1/3 mortal. So they have a divine parent, but are mortal. So just an interesting difference in the Akkadian version of the story. All right, now we have Chapter 10, Part 1. I don't know why it's not Chapter 10 and Chapter 11.
I thought you were the one splitting.
Nope.
That's
Part
such,
1.
That's so odd. Because at first I was like, why did you split Chapter 10 into 2 parts?
Nope, he split it into 2 parts. Which is insane because earlier when we have like the ghost magic that is Part 1 and 2,
Yeah.
those are it's 6 and 7. So this chapter is called An Assyrian Prince in the Netherworld. It's about exactly what it sounds like.
Great.
Lovely.
This story is about an Assyrian prince who has been indulgent and exploitative and is on a downward spiral in his career.
Me too.
So he's having a bad time. He's having a bad time of his own accord. Like, he fucked up.
Like, he did this,
Right.
but like,
He seeks out the help of the gods and essentially ends up getting scared straight by a potential dream trip to the netherworld. He does seek out the help of the gods.
goes, can I get some guidance? And then they go, are you sure you want that?
Like, the first couple of bits that I'm not gonna read you what happens. He like reaches out to the gods and they're like no, and then he reaches out to the gods again and they're like no. So then Kumaya lay down and saw a night vision. In his dream, I was captive in the house of death. I beheld his terrifying splendor. So he has this night vision, like this dream experience. And the author says, this we do well to remember is a man undergoing an unparalleled psychic experience.
Sick.
Yeah. So then the first thing we get in this is a parade of deities and demons. Which I'm going to read to you because they're fucking rad. These are some of the most metal descriptions of anything ever.
Let's go.
I saw Namtar, messenger of the underworld, organizer of visceral omens. A man stood in front of him whose hair he seized in his left hand, wielding a dagger in his right. Tartu, his wife, had the head of a cherub, hands and feet, being human. So this guy's like gonna get ready to cut off somebody's head, and then next to him is his wife, who's like, baby, so cute,
baby face.
little baby.
A beautiful baby face.
Third, Death had the head of a dragon, his hands being human feet.
I don't
His
like
hands
that.
are human feet.
I'm bad at reading. His
Oh.
hands being human, comma, his feet, something.
Oh,
The text is
I
gone.
was like, his hands being
hands are
feet.
feet.
I didn't
What?
see the comma.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I was just like,
I was like,
Wait a
I'm having a
minute.
crisis.
it's like I'm drawing the picture in my head and I don't like it.
Also, the description of Namtar.
Is he a cutie?
No. So Namtar's the one who is trying to cut off a guy's head, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he the servant of?
Yes. So he's a Reshkigal's messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But this description of him is not a pose that is used in Mesopotamian description of underworld stuff. It's very Egyptian. So that kind of happens a lot. There's a lot of weird Egyptian stuff that kind of wiggles its way into this story. So we have Death as an entity.
Bless you,
Gesundheit.
I'm so sorry, it snuck
That's okay.
all the way up on me.
That was an aggressive sneeze. So Death is interesting in this because they have like Death as an entity, but they don't usually describe him. He is not drawable. He is not his likeness. One cannot draw the likeness of Death is in one of the Gilgamesh tablets. So it's really
Lovely.
interesting that he's like, this is what Death looks like.
Yeah.
Then he sees evil genie or Shadu, had head and hands of a human, crowned with a tiara, eagle's feet. With his left foot, he was trampling on a crocodile. Again, Egyptian. There's this eagle imagery. There's this crocodile imagery. Not super common in the Mesopotamian, common in the Egyptian stuff.
And so, do we know? Like, this has been dated to
Yeah, this
Mesopotamia.
is Mesopotamian,
Okay.
and it's written in Sumerian, or written in cuneiform, which the Egyptians didn't use.
Right.
So it's not an Egyptian story.
So,
But they would have had contact with Egypt at this point. Egypt
okay.
as a civilization
Understood.
exists.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Then we have Alu Hapu, demon, had a lion's head, his 4 hands and feet being human. Now, I don't know if that means if he has 4 hands and 4 feet, or if his 4 hands, meaning his hands and feet,
His
the
2
4
hands,
things.
2 feet, 4
Yeah.
4 things.
Because he has a lion head, so if he's on all 4s,
Yeah.
sort of situation. Then we have Upholder of Evil demon,
Oh.
had the head of a bird, his wings were outstretched wings, and he flew hither and yon, his hands and feet were human. So these are very Mesopotamian, these two. These two guys are Mesopotamian demons through and through.
Yeah.
Then we have Hamut Tabal, ferryman of the netherworld, had an Anzu eagle head. His 4 hands and feet were something.
Similar to like Charon or
Yes.
our other psychopomps.
Yeah, so it literally is like the fateful ferryman who sees people across their last stretch of water, the Babylonian equivalent to Charon and the river Styx.
Yeah. I like that his hands and feet were something.
His name, well, it doesn't say. It just is ...
Oh.
It doesn't say something. His hands and feet were blah, blah, blah. Remember,
Missing.
These are on clay. We don't. Some of it gets fucked up.
Some of it got smudged.
The name of this ferryman, his name means hurry up and carry off. Like, that's the translation of his name.
Cute.
Yeah. Then we have Ghost, Etemu, had an ox's head, his 4 hands and feet being of a human. Me too. Evil Spirit, Utuku, had a lion's head, his hands and feet being those of an Anzu eagle. So he has talons instead of hands, but he has a lion head. Then we have Shulak was a lion rearing up all the time on his hind legs, which is another demon. This is a demon that's like super common. The palaces at Nineveh had like statues of this guy. Oath. Oh, that may just be oath. That may just be the word oath translated into English. Because it is followed by other words. Look, all the other ones are names at the beginning. Oath, Mamitu, had a goat's head, his hands and feet being human. Then we have Nedu, the porter of the underworld, had a lion's head and human hands and feet and human hands. His feet were those of a bird. Any evil, like we talked about earlier, the entity known as any evil we talked about in part 1, had 2 heads. One was the head of a lion, and the second was a head of a...
Eagle?
No, the text is cut off.
Oh,
We don't get to know.
lame.
Which is so tantalizing and mysterious. Then we have...
What do you think it was?
So the first is a lion, and he's any evil. I would do, like, probably an eagle or something.
Okay.
Something also that's, like, predatory. Hawk, falcon.
Sure.
I don't know. A guy. Just a regular guy.
Coyote, jackal.
They don't have any dog stuff
They
in
don't have dog
Mesopotamia.
stuff?
They don't have dog stuff in Mesopotamia. I mean, they have dogs, but,
Right,
like, none
but
of their deities have dog stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any cat things?
The lions.
Not that I know of, other than lions.
Other than-
We
yeah.
don't have any just, like, regular
But
cats.
no, yeah, so like only
Yeah.
wild creatures.
Correct. Then we have Muhra, had 3 feet. The 2 front ones were those of a bird. The rear one was that of a bull. He had a fearsomeness and luminous splendor. So far, there have been 14 entities listed. Then Kumaya continues. For 2 gods, I did not know the names. One had the head, hands, and feet of an Anzu eagle. In his left hand, ... The text breaks off. The other had a man's head. He was crowned with a tiara, carried on his right hand a mace, and in his left hand before him, ... The text is broken off. In all, 15, it's actually 16, gods were present. I saw them and prayed to them. Okay. So, that's like
Ew.
this whole list of things, right, that he experiences. Then he sees Nurgle, the god of death. So he goes through this, like, parade of all of these other gods, and then he finally meets Nurgle. And he basically is like, I don't know what to do. I kissed the feet of this god, and I stood up while he gazed at me, shaking his head.
Damn.
He raised his voice, screaming furiously against me like a raging storm, and brandished his scepter. befitting his divinity, terrifying like a viper to kill me.
Oh.
Isham, his vizier, the intercessor who saves lives and loves truth, said as follows: Do not kill this man, O king of the broad netherworld. Let him go so that the peoples of all lands will hear about your glorification. He made the heart of the all-powerful and almighty one who binds evil calm as pure water. Nurgle said this to Kamaya: Why did you insult my beloved wife, queen of the netherworld, by her high command? So he, like, when he was trying to do his prayers, he, like, wasn't the nicest to Ereshkigal. By her high command, which she can never be revoked, may Bibu, slaughterer of the netherworld, turn you over to the porter Lugal Sula, that he may let you out of the gate of Ishtar and Aya. Do not forget, do not neglect me, that I should not pass a verdict of annihilation on you. Otherwise, at the command of Shamash, let distress, deeds of violence, and rebellion combined blow you over, so that through their oppressive clamor, sleep will never come to you. So basically, like, do not forget me. Do not forget that I have let you out of here. Or fuck you.
Yep.
I will fuck you the fuck up. So then, he, like... this is a great line because it references my favorite Shakespeare. Nurgle, in the vein of Hamlet's father's ghost, continues with this remarkable speech. So the god is still yelling at Kamaya and says, This corpse, which has been buried in the netherworld, is of the proud shepherd who carried out all of the wishes of my father Aser, king of the gods, the king who from east to west made all the lands appear as mere booty, who ruled everything, for whom Aser, when he took up the office of high priest, ordained that he should build the holy Aikitu house in the countryside, surrounded by abundant gardens that resemble Mount Lebanon forever and ever, whose body the gods Yabru, Huban, and Neprushu look after, whose progeny they keep healthy, and whose army and camp they rescue, so that no chariot should come of anywhere. He is your progenitor, eminent, knowledgeable in affairs of wide intelligence, broad of understanding and discernment, who sought the plans of the earth's bond.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. As for one whose closed ear to his speech, sampled the taboo, trampled on the sacred, the luminous splendor of his terrifying majesty will overwhelm you into a puff of smoke. Let this speech be set like a thorn into your heart. Go forth up in the world above, that I have to, until I have to think of you again, he said to me. Summaries of that. He says, who is this corpse, this dead man, basically this guy laying in state in the netherworld? He is this great king. He is this man whom the very god of gods instructed to build this great palace and all this stuff. And then we get, this is your dad. This man who lies dead here is your father. And you do not recognize him.
Damn.
So, like, part of the reason why Nurgle is so pissed is that Kumaya was shitty to his wife. Like, when he was doing his prayers to everybody, he was like, Aresh Kagal or whatever, I guess, somebody fucking help me, I'm having a bad time. And Nurgle was like, do not speak to my wife that way.
My wife.
My wife. He was like, don't talk about my wife that way. And also, how dare you, after speaking to someone of the netherworld that way, have the audacity to come to the netherworld to seek aid. And he goes, however, my vizier was like, don't kill this guy, because if you don't kill this guy after being this mad at him, think of how glorified you will be on earth. Like, everyone will be reverent. Like, you will be revered even more than you already are. And he's like, great. And then he's like, also look at your dead dad. That's your dead dad that you don't even recognize. And so Kamaya is shooketh. And we get this kind of, again, very a la Christmas Carol. I woke up and like a man who had lost blood or wanders alone in a reed thicket or who is overtaken by a rumor so that his heart beats fast, or like a young offspring of a boar who has his mate and whose insides inflate so that the wind is given out of his mouth and his rear. We're talking about a boar farting right now.
Hell yeah.
He having become inflamed with lamenting, calling out, woe my heart. He shot into the road like an arrow and scooped up dust from the street and city square into his mouth, setting up a constant and fearful shriek, woe is me. He was crying out, why have you decreed this for me? And through his pain, the valor of Nurgle and Aresh Kagal, who had come to the aid of the prince, was lauded before the Assyrian population. So he wakes from this dream, heart pounding, because he's so fucking scared, tears out of his house, and starts scooping dust into his mouth. Like the food in the underworld.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like this symbolism of like, I will eat this dust. I will do this. Woe is me. I will do what you've asked. Like,
Yeah.
I will do this thing. So it's this whole fucking shenanigan. And it's like, you have all of these jobs and you're not doing your job. Like, your main job is to do the shit of taking care of your dead dad.
Yeah.
And you're not. So the other thing that we get about this is the person who wrote this story down does not like this prince. And the story kind of ends with the scribe himself being like, let this story be my
Interpretation.
not interpretation, like, let this be me being washed away of my sins. Like me telling this story about the gods letting Kumaya get away with it. It's about me getting away with it. The scribe's a little asshole. So part 2 of this chapter is about trying to figure out who this prince is. Because Kumaya is not a conventional naming construction for this period or culture that this story takes place in.
Okay.
So, like, the way that the name is constructed, if you break it down into its syllables, that's not how they did names. Like, it does. Like, for example, we're doing, like, S.R. Hadon, Ashurbanipal. Like, those are the other names. Kumaya, not a name.
Yeah.
So it was clearly a pseudonym given to this prince, so that way this scribe could talk shit and not get hit.
Yeah.
Now,
Maybe he should have gotten hit.
people knew at the time who this story was about.
Yeah,
Because they'd be like, this is about that guy. But the scribe had the benefit of the doubt because he didn't use his name. So basically, this whole second chapter, this whole part 2, is about who is this prince? Who actually is this in period? Can we figure out what his name probably actually was? The story of Kamaya was written by the son of a court scribe who had a personal relationship with this prince.
Had a
himself.
vendetta.
Right. So the author does some investigative journalism to figure out who this prince was. He determines that the scribe is Uradgula and that the prince is likely Shamash Metu Ubalit, the third son of Esarhaddon and the elder brother of Ashurbanipal, who eventually became king. And Esarhaddon was the king who passed. One of the
neither of
things that
ours.
we have is there's this really cool, we'll take a picture of this. So this is the layout, allegedly, of, like, specifically a Netherworld Gate experience temple. So you go in the front door, and you are supposed to, it's dark, there's incense, it's barely lit. You're supposed to experience a, like, going to the underworld to face Nurgle himself. And so they think that this is what this, like, dream was it wasn't actually a dream. It was him going through this process to try and, like,
escape room.
kind of, it's like the Oddfellows ritual where, like, you go through the whole thing and then you face a skeleton and you have to, like, look face to face with your mortality. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with this example before us, it's easy to see the unfolding of Kumaya's experience. It's this, like, vault, and you come in and there's statues of all of these gods along the side. And so it's like, oh, it's all of these gods that he's talking about.
Right.
Weird. And then you go through this last door and there is Nurgle, and then there's a statue of Nurgle's vizier, and then there is a door that is the gate to the underworld.
Right.
So you can see, like, oh, if this is how these temples were laid out, it makes sense that he could have this experience. And it's a thing. The overnight visit would involve first prayer and the procuring of an admission passport from Queen Alatu or Queen Areshkigal. So from the queen herself, presumably conducted in the antechamber. So you, like, go in, you get your little passport to go to the underworld. And then
Here's your card.
here's your card. You can
Here's
go
your ticket.
through. Yeah. And then
Do you have a fast pass?
then you go through this whole thing, and there would have been all of these statues. You would have had something you were supposed to do at each statue.
Okay.
You would have had to, like, sit with that. Because, like, clearly he has a description of what each of these looks like.
Right.
So you would have had to sit process, maybe say a prayer, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up coming face to face with Nurgle, and the whole thing is like you've been walking through this incense this whole time. Perhaps it's a smoke that causes hallucinations. So that way, when you get to the final room, you have an experience with Nurgle.
It's some kind of hallucinogenic.
Correct. So then you have this experience with Nurgle.
It's like a religious experience kind of of process.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And it's one of those things that it's like you go through this, you go through the netherworld, you see all these gods, you see Nurgle, you come face to face with whatever it is, and you figure out how to solve your fucking problem based on your hallucination that you have. So the author is like, if my reconstruction is valid and correct, the living Kumaya's ritual reflects a process of judgment in the netherworld administered to relieve misery. It is important to stress again that there is no anticipation of the post-mortem choice between heaven and hell on the basis of behavior and sin that subsequently worked its way into the world. The decision concerns, on the contrary, whether the penitent individual should be pardoned and continue to live, even if under strict supervision, or die and pass into the underworld. So it's like, okay, you're having a bad enough time that you're trying to decide if you're going to keep living. It's literally fucking to be or not to be.
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna die. So, like, that's the interesting thing about this story. Is it's like, oh, is this, like, showing us an actual, like, cool ritual? Neat. All right, on to chapter 11. The delicate art of necromancy.
Fascinating.
Oh, I almost threw my...
Throw it again. Throw it harder.
Throw the book. So, literally, let's talk about fucking necromancy, guys.
Shall we?
Literally
necromancy. So first, we're gonna talk about some words, because there's like there's distinct words for different kind of practitioners of necromancy in Mesopotamian world.
Got it.
So the first thing, the practice of necromancy, the verb means to bring up, like a ghost, and it is sula sa etemi, so like etemu, but the plural, etemi. So sula sa etemi, meaning to bring up a ghost.
Sula sa etemi.
Sula sa etemi in Akkadian, and in Sumerian it's just buru. Buru. So that means to bring up a ghost. In Akkadian, it's like to bring up ghosts. So then we have practitioners of necromancy. So there are like a couple of different ones. So there's like a general necromancer, not a specialist, just generalist. In Sumerian, it is Lu Gedim Ma, which Gedim is ghost. And then in Akkadian, it is Sa Atemi, which means both of those mean ghost person.
Ghost person.
So like a ghost guy.
Are we necromancers?
I mean, we talk to
established
ghosts.
that
Yeah.
in hauntings.
Yeah. And I did say, are we necromancer or are we dancer? Yeah.
That's us.
Sa Atemi.
Sa Atemi.
And I don't know if it's Sa or if it's Sha, depending on, like, because it's an SA, but there's a letter over there's a, like, symbol over the S. So I don't know if it's pronounced Sha or if it's Sa. Atemi. So then there's a specialist necromancer, specifically a male specialist, is Lu Balag Ga, which is one with a balag drum. And so they use these drums to like bring the ghosts up. It's like a very specific kind of ritual that these people do. And then in Akkadian, it is Muselu Etemi, which means one who brings up ghosts. Which I do that. I bring up ghosts every day. And then we have the female specialist necromancer. In Sumerian, it is Iglsid. Iglsid.
Yeah. Iglsid.
And then in Akkadian, it is Museli Item. Which is a woman who brings up a ghost. Then we have a black magician or necromancer, either male or female, which is, again, slightly different. We have Narsindu, which is like you specifically do dark magic and shit with ghosts. So then there's...
You do, like, weird shit and
there's also ghosts.
And there's also ghosts.
Yeah.
But, like, it's extra weird.
And then the feminine version of that same thing is Narsindatu. Instead of Narsindu, it's Narsindatu. So that's what makes it feminine, is the Datu instead of just Narsindu.
Narsindu.
Yeah.
Datu.
And then we have just the word necromancer,
well.
Yep, which is one who brings up a shade. So that's the Utukus, right? That is Muselu Silly, which is really funny to me.
One more time.
Muselu
Silly.
Yeah.
Muselu Silly.
Muselu Silly.
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy. So then we have some letters. I'm not going to read you the whole things, but they're like about necromancy. So we have our first glimpse of necromancy anywhere in the world happening for a person, like an individual person. This happens in the old Assyrian period, so it's somewhere between 1950 and 1850 BCE.
Okay. I started being worried for a second. I was
no,
like,
no. 1950 and 1850 BCE.
Okay.
And this is actually, I'm going to read you the incantation because it's really fucking funny.
Hell yeah.
The end of it is hilarious. So again, this is necromancy. These people are bringing a ghost back from the dead.
Yep. They're necromancers.
Yeah. In Imdi Ilum speak, thus say Taram Kubi and Shamat Asher. Here we are asking female diviners, and ghosts. The god Asher has been keeping an eye on you. You are too fond of silver. Confound it. You cannot even enjoy yourself in Asher's city. Please, when you hear this letter, come look Asher in the eye, save your life. Why don't you quote me the price of the textiles? This man literally brings a ghost back from the dead to inquire
Yell
about
at
the
him.
price of fabric.
About the price of fabric.
The price of fabric.
Why didn't you say it this
Hey.
up before you
Hey,
fucking
Joanne's is
died?
Joanne's is closing. He needs his fabric.
He needs his fabric, and he needs to know how much it is. How much is it on sale for? Is it like an actual good
You're
price
not
yet?
allowed to die.
I can't believe
need
you
to
died
know.
without talking to me
You
about this yet.
died.
I need to know what the sale price of the
How mu-
fabric is.
So fucking funny to me that like
Do you have a death sale going on? You died. More money off.
why won't you tell me the price of textiles?
I need to know.
So then we get letter 2,
Okay.
which is royal necromancy. So that was like a guy,
Just
right?
like
Just a dude.
whoever.
These are royals
Okay.
doing necromancy.
Okay, Royals doing necromancy.
Having necromancy done on their behalf. So like
okay.
the royals are not the one doing necromancy. They're the ones paying necromancers to come do necromancy for them.
Got it. And so those necromancers are royal.
Yes, they are the necromancers
understood.
to the court.
Perfect.
So this is from the late Assyrian period, so 7th century BCE.
Okay.
This letter contains a passage from a necromantic ask to a royal ghost about the matter of succession after the death of Esarhaddon. They're like, hey, you didn't say who the next king was going to be.
Help.
We need to
help.
know. Help.
You have to tell us.
Hey, how dare you?
But interestingly enough, so this is Crown Prince Ashurbanipal, who is not the eldest of these brothers.
Uh-huh.
He calls his dead mom.
Can you please ask Dad
And
who's
he-
supposed to be the fucking king?
She told me truthfully that the gods Asur and Shamash ordained me to be the crown prince of Assyria. Her ghost blesses him in the same fashion with which he has revered the ghost. May his descendants rule over Assyria.
Mom
So this is
said
a
it's my turn.
this
to
is
king.
this is a letter that Ashurbanipal was writing to someone else. He was like, "Look, I have the necromancers. Like, call up mom." And she was like, "Dad said that I was the one who was supposed to be king. So clearly, I'm supposed to be king. Okay,
Okay.
me." I'm king.
I'm king. Mom,
Don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions. Mom literally said.
If you want a
Mom
bitch,
said
talk
it's
to the
my
necromancers.
turn.
right.
Have the necromancers talk to Mom on your behalf.
So then, then we have the necromancy manuals
Oh.
that tell you how to bring up a ghost. I'm not going to read those
Thank
out
you.
loud.
Appreciate it.
I'm
You
not going to make
know-
the mistake of translating the Latin and bringing up a ghost.
That's smart.
Thank you.
So the rest of this is like banishment stuff. It's just talking to ghosts. It's that kind of thing.
Oh.
I will give you the gist of what you do.
Okay.
I'm not going to say like how you do it, but it's like you do some incantations, you do some like prep work. There's some of them are like super in depth. This first one is like you need some oil, you need some like moldy wood, some fresh leaves.
You need 2 twin boys.
You need two twin boys, two
oxen.
twin oxen,
oxen.
2 to 3
The
older
old
women.
ladies. And then you've got to have people stand in a cemetery all night
Yeah.
long.
You gotta put some nails in the grave.
Eggs.
Eggs are involved. If you haven't listened to vampires, that's what we're talking about. But this is like you have to recite this incantation 3 times. You have to make this like crazy mixture. It's very witchcraft. It's like eye of newt and ton of dog, wool of bat, and whatever, toe of frog. Like I'm just gonna list a couple of these: fingertip of a frog, gut tip of a frog.
What?
I believe there's also just a whole frog. Yeah, a frog that lives among the pebbles.
What
like,
is a gut tip?
I don't know.
The intestines.
So you gotta take all this shit
tongue?
and mix it up.
Don't like it.
You gotta mix all this shit up. You gotta say this incantation, and then you're gonna see a ghost, and it'll talk to you.
Oh, sick.
Okay.
And then you have to do like this whole thing and like bring up Shamash because it's like you have to ask for Shamash's permission to do this because he's like the judge over the netherworld, and it's a whole shit show of shenaniganry of how do we like what do we do? And then my favorite is like, oh, you've done necromancy, right? You gotta make sure it's like we have talked about. Like, if you open a door, you have to be ready to close it.
Yeah.
Slam it shut.
So they have in one of these rituals, you have to take an arrow and stab it point first into the ground as literally like a this way back for the ghost.
This way sign.
This
One way only.
This way back down after we're done.
Please
so
be gone. Head home, please. Thank you.
That's necromancy manual number 1.
Necromancy manual number 2.
Then we have necromancy manual number 2. So this is Babylonian. So this is from the 6th century BCE. We have this one. You're anointing your face with some weird shit, like the necromancer, like
I don't like that.
their own face. Yeah. My favorite part of this is it goes. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do the first couple of lines. Who are you? Who are you in Sumerian? Who are you? Who are you in Akkadian? No one in ancient Iraq at this period, the 6th century BCE, had spoken Sumerian for a good 1,000 years.
Shit.
So this implies that an unknown ghost might prove to be some very long-dead individual out of the very dustiest depths, reminding us of the ghostly Sumerians in the netherworld described by Enkidu. That's so funny to me. It's literally the like, do we need to speak Latin?
Yeah, it's like
Do
what?
we need to speak Latin
you
to
speak
these
English?
ghosts?
No, Latin.
Latin. How about
What do you?
what language do you speak? Greek?
So the interesting thing about this specific necromancy manual is that it specifically, when you're calling forth this ghost for necromancy, you're not calling forth like an entity. You're not going to see a ghost. You literally have the person's fucking skull that you're trying to contact, and they come into their skull.
Oh, it's like Alas Poor Yorick, but if Yorick could talk back
Right.
in his head.
Literally, you're like, Yorick, come home. And Yorick
Here,
goes into the
Yorick!
skull, and then you can talk to Yorick.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I
So, like,
hate
because
that.
usually a lot of times people who are doing this, it is a family member that they're trying to get in touch with. So they have their skull.
'Cause
It's
it's in the
buried under the
floor.
house. So,
Thanks, I hate it.
Their dad. I don't know where you put the scissors.
yeah.
Hey, the aluminum foil, which drawer does it go in?
What's the Netflix
Right.
password?
Yeah, it's crazy. So then, based on the evidence that we have, we can't really make any say one way or the other about how prevalent or not necromancy was in Mesopotamia, nor can we see any obvious taboo or association with wrongdoing, or if
It's
there-
kind of like
or
a
if-
neutral thing.
Right, like we don't know. There isn't, because we have so little evidence of it, we can't say how prevalent it was. It existed because they wrote it down.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it was a lot. Right?
Right.
There's also this thing of like a lot of these people are asking the ghosts questions about the future, not just like, hey, how much does linen cost right now? Or hey, who did dad say was supposed to be king next? Like when you're calling up a dead relative, most of these people are like,
Who wins the baseball game?
when am I going to
in-
get married? Who am I going to get married to?
Hey, do you know the lottery ticket numbers?
Yeah,
for-
like it's shit about the future, right? And so it's odd because it's like, how or why would they know? It was hardly their concern. They're dead. They're not care. They don't care about the future.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And then we have the quote, there is also the question of whether a given ghost, family member or not, would necessarily tell the truth if they did know it.
It's like the
People often don't, after all.
It would be. It's like the two guards at the gate. It's like one is always telling the truth
And one's always telling lies.
How you have to figure out which is which.
Okay, you ready for chapter 12?
But like, oh, sorry. What I
Oh,
was
go
saying
ahead.
was like Uncle Joe and excuse me, really like threw me for a loop. Like Uncle Joe maybe was a chronic liar and some,
Right.
like, alcoholic, and you're gonna like call
And you're
up
like,
Uncle
but
Joe,
this is the
like,
skull I could find.
Hey, when am I supposed to get married and have kids? And he's like, I don't know, fucking know, like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
What
Next
do you
week?
mean?
Oh.
You're like, oh my gosh, amazing, great. And then it doesn't happen. And you're like, what did I do? The gods are mad.
And it's like, no, Uncle Joe's just a fucking liar.
Yeah, your uncle who
Just an idiot.
the skull you picked was not the right one. Next
you
we
picked
get
up the wrong skull
we
out
have-
of the basement.
chapter 12, the biblical world.
Oh.
I started this section with just in all caps, Saul.
Saul.
So, don't interrupt me. I'm just going to tell this story in my words. So Samuel, court prophet, fucking died, right? And that made King Saul kind of sad because then he didn't have his court prophet anymore. There was an army of Philistines coming, and he inquired to the Lord, and the Lord didn't answer, not by dreams or by Urim, which are fortune tellers, or by prophets. So he had his servants find a ghost mistress to call Samuel up from the grave, and Saul disguised himself to go visit the ghost mistress because, surprise, he had outlawed necromancy. And so he goes to the ghost mistress, and she's like, are you just trying to get me in trouble? He's disguised. She doesn't recognize him. And she's like, are you trying to get me in trouble because this is illegal? And Saul's like, no, I promise you won't get in trouble. And she's like, sus. So she brings up Samuel, and then she's like, wait a second, you're fucking Saul? Like, you're Saul? And Saul's like,
He goes,
yeah. So then Samuel is like, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? And now I'm going to read you the best shit I've ever read in my fucking life.
I love this story.
We get the best... What page is it on? This, if I may say so, is my favorite line in the whole Hebrew Bible. It is so utterly credible. Samuel, venerable and a little uncertain on his feet, recently deceased, his life's work done, is settling in down below, meeting dead old friends, securing his billet, lying back and daydreaming gratefully, and the doorbell rings. Like, because literally he's like, Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? It's literally the scene. Neither of you. Have you seen The Hobbit? You've seen The Hobbit. You haven't seen The Hobbit. It's literally in The Hobbit when Bilbo sits down with this
For
beautiful
dinner.
mirror, and there's a and he's like,
and every time another dwarf knocks on the door, he's like, mother.
he's like, no,
fucker.
why have you disturbed me?
No, what this is us talking to John Keel, and he goes,
Bye.
I'm tired.
So then Saul obviously is like, I'm in distress. The Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. So I have summoned you to tell me what I should do. Nothing to be done. The ghost mistress insists on feeding the king and his bodyguards before they leave. Also an oddly disturbing vignette. And but Saul is finished, right? Like he does not survive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, later Jewish and Christian writers really hated this story and spent a long time trying to get rid of it.
Yep.
Saul's death was allegedly because he had been unfaithful to the Lord, and specifically because he talked to a ghost. In later texts, it is changed so that the prophecy about Saul's death from Samuel was just one of Samuel's last prophecies, rather than Samuel being like, I can finally rest. Why are you at my door?
Why are you here? I thought I got rid of you when I died.
So then we have this line that I adore. Later theological interpretation does all it can to disguise what the text plainly tells us, that a famous Old Testament king went to call up a famous Old Testament prophet with the help of the local professional necromancer, and up he came. In that world, around the turn of the first millennium BCE, that is what people did. They were like, I reached out to the Lord and was like, what's going to happen? And he didn't answer. So my only choice is to go to the ghost lady and have her bring Samuel back, because Samuel answered my questions.
Yeah. Samuel talked to God. God talked to Samuel.
God talked back to Samuel, but he wouldn't talk back to me, so I need Samuel here. And when I was reading this chapter, I was like, a lot of it is like gets really into like the nitty gritty of like this like transference from pre-Judaism into Judaism, and like it's an interesting chapter, but at this point in the book, I was like, I don't care. We are no longer talking about Mesopotamian ghosts. I don't care. And I was like, but this is really interesting that like there's literally just fucking necromancy. Okay, we're so close, guys. We got 2 chapters left, and they're both fucking short. The title of this next chapter is insane.
Okay.
Chapter 13. A brief inquiry as to what the inhabitants of Mesopotamia believed about their netherworld and the ultimate fate of those who languished in same.
Okay.
What the?
Do you need me to go again?
Yep.
A brief inquiry as to what the inhabitants of Mesopotamia
Okay.
believed about their netherworld
Lovely.
and the ultimate fate of those who languished in same. So what they believed about their netherworld and the people who were stuck there.
Understood.
Okay. So we have a couple of different
Mr.
words.
Finkel.
What?
Mr.
Yeah.
Finkel.
So my biggest complaint about this book is I wish the whole thing was written in the same way that he wrote the author's note and the afterword,
Yeah.
because they're beautiful. I wish he wrote this how he lectures, because I've watched videos of his and he's a fabulous storyteller. He's so interesting to listen to. I wish that he'd written this a little bit less academically. That's my only request. Like, I want to call him and be like, can you write this again, but like for me?
Can you
Can you write this
can
again?
you
but
just give me a synopsis?
yeah,
personally?
can you tell me this book and make sure I got it? So we have a couple of different words for the netherworld. So in Sumerian, we have Kur, K-U-R. This is the oldest term, and it was always written with a pictographic sign rather than necessarily an actual cuneiform symbol. And this word also applied to like any foreign country as well. So it's like the netherworld, anywhere that isn't Sumer, like anywhere else is Kur, K-U-R. Sumerian, there's also the word ki, which literally just means place, which can refer to earth, and also the netherworld under earth. Ki with capital letters, so to speak.
Key.
So like, we have earth, dirt, and earth, the planet, one of which is capitalized, one of which isn't, but they're the same word, that kind of thing. So then we have the land of no return, which has a Sumerian and an Akkadian translation. We have Kur, so again, that original word Kur, Kur nu gi a, as written out as those four syllables. Kur nu gi a
Kur nu gi a.
is Sumerian. And then in Akkadian, it's Ursit la Tari, both of which mean land of no return. And then we have heard both of these words already. The Sumerian name Urkala and the Akkadian word Ganzir. We've heard both of those in the Gilgamesh story because those are just the name of the underworld. They're also specifically in a couple of stories the name of gates, because there are 7 gates into the underworld.
Yeah.
They're the names for the gates.
It's like saying you're gonna go to
Elysium or the
or
fields of
the
Asphodel,
Fields of Asphodel
or Tartarus. It's like naming the place as opposed to just like the underworld.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Urkala, it's Ganzir, that is the name.
It's the first.
That's the
circle
name of
hell, it's the
Urshkala's
second.
house kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the Mesopotamian netherworld was not one of punishment or praise. There was no Tartarus, there's no Elysium, no heaven or hell. It just simply was, and it seemed like everyone was standing around waiting. Waiting for what?
Tell us.
I will. So again, we have a callback to the descent of Ishtar. And we also have the callback to the Eresh Kigal story with Nergal, her husband. They both say these 2 lines. I will raise up the dead to devour the living. The dead shall outnumber the living.
Yeah.
Okay. The threat is very meaningful. It is not simply that releasing the floodgates will see the world overwhelmed by liberated zombies streaming remorselessly up the escalators to take over. What would happen is that the delicate balance between life and death that prevails under normal conditions would be overthrown with irreversible consequences for the world. Underpinning this passage is, I believe, Irving believes, the conception in Babylonia that the life force itself was finite, with the corollary that the birth of a new baby was always predicated on the death of an adult person. The system was thus a never-ending cycle that involved the recycling of the Atemu essence round and round in a timeless, divinely regulated process. It's not quite reincarnation, because it's not a you die and get reincarnated into something new. It's a you die, you go to the netherworld, but
Hang
somebody
out.
comes up from the netherworld into a new baby. That's like, there is a limited amount of life force that exists in this belief. So we have
And so
this.
if all of the dead walked Earth, then there would be no new babies.
There would be no new babies because all of the life force would be back on the surface.
Yeah.
This finite life would be done, and there would be nobody waiting to
become
become a
babies.
baby until somebody new died. But it's still like she's like the dead will outnumber the living. There will be no more.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So we get this interesting.
What? That's
It's
very
super interesting. So we get this interesting thing about exorcisms and exorcists in regards to this. A skillful scholar with traditional texts at his fingertips could prove black to be white to everyone's satisfaction through the ingenious manipulation of signs and their usages. So like symbols, omens, whatever. One of these passages concerns the ominous implications that follow when a Babylonian doctor, hurrying through the street to visit a sick patient, sees a bit of baked brick on the way. If an exorcist spots a kiln-fired brick on the way to a sick person's house, that sick person will die. Okay, don't worry, I will explain it. This chance sighting of an insignificant item of rubble might hardly seem replete with danger to us, but a Babylonian specialist trained in interpretation would draw several deep messages from it. The technique involved taking the 4 cuneiform signs used to write the word baked brick and reinterpreting them using several philological or philology
word
from the
from
beginning,
the
the word from
beginning.
the beginning, tricks to produce 2 quite new interpretations beyond the literal meaning. Interpretation 1, a person who has successfully returned from a river situation.
Okay.
Interpretation 2, a pregnant woman. Individuals 1 and 2 both hover on the cusp between life and death. The ordeal survivor cheats death, and the pregnant woman is busy creating a new life. What unites these 2 passers-by in the street is the underlying conception of the cycle of life, with the specific point of view that a new life is dependent on a new death. For last-minute rescue or a new birth to go forward, the patient awaiting the doctor's arrival has to die. So it's like the Chinese number 4 sounding like the word death, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, this sign, this thing that I'm seeing, the word for that, those syllables, also mean a pregnant woman. I am headed to treat a sick patient. If I see this brick, my patient has to die or that baby can't be born.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing here. So it's it's just an interesting...
So you better hope your doctor's blind.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting relationship with this netherworld, right? Because it is this, like, a lot of these omens are predicated on this, like, belief that a new baby has to happen, but someone has to die for a new baby to happen. Someone
Yeah.
has to have died. All right, we're at the very end. The afterword. My notes say, just read the first paragraph. It's so good.
Hell yeah.
So here we go.
Okay, let's go.
As we have seen, ghosts, the spirits of the dead, have walked by our side since the beginning of time. They are there in our first ancient writings and can be suspected or even glimpsed far earlier than that. While the human ideas brought out of the ground dressed in cuneiform to have breathed life into them, reflect a belief system that will be intelligible, accessible, and even familiar to any modern reader who has an interest in the subject. So, like, ghosts have always been there.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough to pull these things out of the ground. Hell yeah. I wrote on this page, this is so good I wish the whole book was written like this.
Yeah.
On this page. So we then have the following quote. Belief in ghosts is as old as time and hovers around a core part of human makeup. It continues unabashedly today, suppressed or submerged, though it may be, strong as ever. Okay? We're not quite done, because now we have to talk about him talking shit about people who don't believe in ghosts.
Hell yeah.
So we have this, like, interesting shift that happens, right? Because for the Babylonians, ghosts just existed. There
Yeah.
was no belief.
Yeah.
They just were.
It just is. It's part of life.
so
Just
he-
like books, just like the room that we're in. Like,
Right. It just
They
was.
exist.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
So his thing is, like, since the 19th century, endless attention has been paid to the whole business of ghosts. Providers, investigators, scientists, like, everyone, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's interested in this, but it's like, whatever. We also have this interesting divide that is almost as divisive as, like, religion, right? There's believers, non-believers, and don't-knowers.
Yeah.
And believers are bolstered by libraries of records from perfectly normal people who say they've seen a ghost and describe the circumstances to the best of their ability, right? Like people like us who believe in ghosts. We're like, well, yeah, look at all these fucking people who've seen ghosts. What do you mean you don't believe in ghosts?
Right.
People who aren't sure are like, we don't have any science behind it. Like, but there are a lot of people who say it. So like, I'm gonna hedge my bets.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna
Right.
say yes either.
But so then there's the non-believers who are what I like to call assholes. And because here's a list, right? For disbelievers, anyone who says they saw a ghost must therefore be lying, inventing, mistaken, delusional, hysterical, hallucinating, drunk, drugged, delirious, hypnotized, influenced by external images, repeating something they heard, regurgitating something they read, undergoing freak weather conditions, experiencing a trick of the light, experiencing a trick of the dark, affected by stress, undergoing financial worries, undergoing marital problems, overworked, or eating unwisely. Every single person who's ever seen a ghost, according to non-believers, has to be one of those things. You call me a fucking liar?
I ain't calling you a truther.
I ain't calling you a truther. So then we have this. We have these 4 separate strands of disbelief. I don't believe there was anything to be seen. I don't believe in ghosts at all. I don't believe that he saw anything, or I don't believe anything he says. Those are like the 4 categories of not believing a ghost story,
Yeah.
right? So my favorite line ever written by anyone ever is, one man's anecdote is another man's evidence.
Yep.
I'm going to get that tattooed across my forehead.
Maybe not your forehead. Pick a different spot.
Fine. To dismiss all
Get your
anecdotes.
Forehead.
What?
Get it on your forehead.
Chris,
Hell yeah.
We're,
Do it
we're
as
having
your eyebrows.
We're
As your
having
eyebrows.
Noise.
we're having to be your little
But angel and demon.
Angel
shoulder
and demon.
buddies.
To dismiss all anecdotes of this kind outright as lying, invention, delusion, and so forth, widely spread as they are over millennia and continents, requires one or the other following 2 assumptions. Right? So if you're going to dismiss every ghost story as not true, either all human ghost-seeing testimony everywhere is modeled on the same detailed but artificial construction about the dead. This blueprint has been everywhere, impressed on people's minds for at least 5 millennia of time, so that everyone who has ever thought they have seen a ghost has been deluded in the same way, or there has been a conspiracy in every human population since ancient Babylonia, where Group A all try to make Group B believe that ghosts exist and that they themselves have seen them, even though this is wholly untrue, motivated by some unimaginably persistent and inexplicable motive.
I'm lying to y'all.
Everyone
been
is lying
lying.
all the time.
I've been lying to you the entire time.
I've been here the whole
I've been here the
time.
whole time. I just love that he's like, either every person who's ever seen a ghost has been individually deluded by the universe, or is everyone who's ever seen a ghost is actively trying to play a prank on those who haven't.
I am playing a prank.
Yeah, that's your choice. Tag
Yep.
yourself, you're playing a prank.
Tag yourself. I'm playing prank.
No, tag yourself. I'm just eating unwell.
Yeah, that is a choice. Eating on
I'm
Wednesday.
overworked.
I'm experiencing a trick of the light and of the dark. I'm both at the same time.
I need more sleep.
2 are untroubled and unself-conscious Babylonian informants. The Atemu is both the animating element, which we call spirit, which combined with clay, flesh, and blood produces a human being, and the component of a dead person, which we could call a ghost, which post-mortem is supposed to live on quietly in the netherworld, but which sometimes returns to the world and interacts with the living. So, like, again, spirit, soul, whatever, ghost, different thing. For us, for the Sumerians, Babylonians, same thing. I will leave you with this.
Okay.
In this way, do we conclude our study of the first ghosts and how they arrived. They have been here ever since.
Wow.
And then it looks like I didn't. There's a lot left at the end. There's a whole like dictionary of cuneiform in here
Sick.
of like all what the words look like, so you can see how they are really really similar.
That's really cool.
And then there's obviously endnotes and his bibliography. So that's why like my tabs stop with what looks like a lot of book left.
Yep.
It's the like notes and stuff.
Dude, that was awesome.
What'd you learn?
Hell yeah.
So much.
Everything.
Everything.
So much.
I think
I've never been happier to get something out of my brain.
Right. It's like everything and not at all.
I think
You can read it if you want.
Nope.
It's hard.
I'm good.
Not yet.
Brian, if you would like to read it, you can borrow it.
I think we should just clearly bring back libation pipes so people
Hell yeah.
stop coming back to visit. Except you, Mike. You can stay.
Yeah, except for you, Mike and Ryan. Literally anyone. We haven't had anybody. We haven't had any of the like ghost
I
elements
just think it's
happen.
interesting that
Haven't
it's
had
like
any bad things.
I love that. I think what I love the most is that not that other cultures treat death as a bad thing or spirits as necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just like that there's less taboo.
The thing
I think I was meaning more like we're not feeding the dead anymore. Not like we're not giving them stuff like grave
Yeah.
goods. I'm not talking about that.
we
but-
should.
You know,
like
we
that's
should be-
more what I'm talking about with the
Yeah.
libation pipes. I'm not referring as much to like we shouldn't have grave goods. We clearly still do grave goods
Right,
in
right, right.
both that regard and in like what is buried with a person.
Yeah.
Right.
When like in a you tuck a pack of cards or whatever, like a stuffed animal that somebody was really attached to or different
Right.
things like that, like in their coffin with them,
Right.
or whatever. But no, I
So we're talking specifically about like food. and
yeah,
drink?
because I mean, they're in the libation pipes that they're talking about are talking about
It's a tube
bread
for you to
and
pour
water
beer down.
and to pour beer down. Like I
I
think
mean, you
it's
just pour one out.
Pour
for
one
the
out.
homies.
Pour one out for the homies.
we do
that. But I
It's-
do think it's like this should not just be like a silly pour one out for the homies. This should be a thing you have to do.
Yeah.
Like
and
every
maybe
year.
you don't. I just think it's interesting, like how the evolution of from like ghosts are just here
Right.
to like, oh no, they're so scary, they're so bad.
Like I want to know when that shift happens because
because even in
it really doesn't happen in like we don't talk about it in this book. Even the shift from like pre Judaism into Judaism, it's not a fear of ghosts. It's that necromancy is bad. Like
Yeah.
it's not a you shouldn't have like oh no Samuel came back as a ghost. That's horrible. It's you should. Why did you bother him?
Yeah.
no,
leave
'cause,
him
like,
to
'cause, I mean,
rest.
realistically, in the end of the day, to Thomas, the resurrection of Jesus, he
He was horrified.
he was so scared.
Right.
Like,
So I
it's
want to
like-
know when that shift happens from ghosts are normal.
But see, we also like it seems like maybe it's cultural because if we think about Dia de los Muertos, like people are, it's a party.
Yes,
It's a party, and
but that's one day.
it is one day.
It's not all the time.
right.
It's not all the
think-
time there are ghosts and they could just be in your house all the time and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it wasn't fine a lot of the time. A lot of the time it was like, fuck, we need to get rid of this ghost. It's like,
causing problems.
it's making me ill. But it was just a matter of fact thing that you had. It was
Yeah.
as common as like, I have the flu.
I have a
have to
cold.
go.
I have a ghost.
I have a fever. I need to take fever reducers. It's like I have a ghost. I need an exorcism. The thing that I love about this is that which is my favorite thing as an anthropologist, people have always been people.
Yep.
Yeah.
People have always been people.
We've always been people.
People have always been people. For as long as there have been people, they have been people.
Since before there were people, we have
We-
been people.
we have
Like
been people.
the Neanderthals were people.
They were people. Like people have always been, and by that I mean we conclude the study of our first ghosts and how they arrive, and they've been here ever since. Like since we have had written language, we have had a word for ghosts.
Yeah.
They have been around they've always existed. And so again, it's one of those things. It's like my belief about aliens is I feel like it's arrogant to think that we're the only life
Yeah.
in the vast, ever expanding universe.
Yeah.
It also is like if every civilization of fucking humans has had a word for ghosts, clearly something is going on in regards to ghosts.
Right. It's like, isn't it kind of arrogant to say, no?
That's not happening.
Everybody
This version
in
of
all
humans,
of ever.
these humans who have technology now, ghosts aren't real. They were primitive humans who had to rely on folklore. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Get fucked, loser.
I think this was great. You did a great job.
I do think, believe it or not, that's everything you need to know about the book First Ghosts.
Thank God.
By Irving Finkel. It is a fantastic, fascinating book. I loved it. Brian, thank you so much for getting me this book for my birthday.
What a wonderful birthday gift.
I feel like my brain weighs an extra pound in my head after reading that and being able to just get it
Blech.
out there. Like my head's a little lighter again. I get to go back to being an airhead.
Hell yeah, brother.
So we'll see you next week for a topic for sure.
Thanks for listening.
This podcast is for weirdos.
Are you a weirdo?
Thursdays are for the phenomena.